Dee Dee in New York, welcome to the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Michael. I agree with you on most things, but a couple times over the last couple of weeks you've sporadically talked about or touched upon pornography, and you're really not correct in what you're saying. Pornography is not protected speech. It's not protected by the First Amendment. The pornography industry is actually an illegal industry, and if the obscenity laws had been enforced, the obscenity, or I should say the war against pornography ended when Bill Clinton took office. And
wait a minute. When have I ever supported pornography?
You've said that pornography is protected speech. A couple of weeks ago, you said look at Larry Flint.
No, you must be listening to somebody else's show. You're probably a spokesperson for an organization, and you're welcome to do that. You never heard me defending pornography. I've called it a blight upon the land. I said it's destroyed minds and marriages and children. I've said that on the show. I don't know who you're quoting, but let's start from the beginning here. Are you in favor of the dissemination of pornography in everyone's house the way it is now?
I am completely against pornography. The Meese Commission on Pornography, which was Ronald Reagan's commission on pornography, found that pornography has a causal link to violence against women as well as a link to...
That's correct. Pornography promotes masturbation, which destroys sex between men and women, which destroys marriages. Is that correct?
That's one of the deleterious effects of pornography, but it also promotes violence against women because 40% of the porn industry are images of women being tortured, raped, beaten, and it's not acting. It's really going on, and it's done in the name of entertainment. This is not what the First Amendment...
Right. Larry Flint and his degenerate lawyer is the person who kicked in the doors of decency in America. As a result of that degenerate pervert, in my opinion, Larry Flint, America is now floating in sewage. You cannot go into a hotel room without being deluged with pornography. You cannot... Any computer in America right now, you click on it, and there it is. Bingo, the most vile scenes imaginable, all legal, all free in every living room. How do you keep your children from watching that? Tell me how a 14-year-old boy who watches pornography can ever have a relationship with a girl. Moreover, tell me how a 13 or 14-year-old girl who may go onto an internet site and get pornography can ever have a relationship of romance with a young boy. Tell me how it's possible.
Am I still on? Am I allowed to talk?
Well, we're agreeing with each other. I mean, excuse me for agreeing with you. You're so difficult that if someone agrees with you, you're angry at them.
I wasn't sure if I was put on mute. I was honestly not sure if I was put on mute.
All right, so let's. You're a tough customer. Thank God we have no relationship other than. So what's your next point?
Well, my point is that it's not legal. So for Elena Kagan to want to purge or look forward to the day when pornography is not available. That is not, she's not a Nazi or fascist because of that. And you're comparing her to Nazis and fascists.
Ma'am, she was not talking about pornography. She was talking about eliminating speech that offends certain racial and gender groups.
Well, that's what pornography does. And you
well, I think you're I think you're stretching it, by the way. I really do. She said, I take it as a given that we live in a society marred by racial and gender inequality, that certain forms of speech perpetuate and promote this inequality, and that the uncoerced disappearance of such speech would be cause for great elation. There's no mention of pornography there.
But didn't you say the word pornography twice when you were talking about this statement of hers?
But she did not refer to pornography. In her attack on free speech, she made no reference to pornography. The title, it is true, of the article, rather the speech was Regulation of Hate Speech and Pornography after RAV. But her description of what she meant by hate speech refers only to statements about race or gender.
Well, I think she's probably, that based on what I'm hearing, that she's probably referring to pornography. Because pornography is...
Well, I think I think you're stretching it, but would you support her in saying that she believes there should be an uncoerced disappearance of speech about race or gender?
I don't understand what she means by uncoerced. We have a...
Hold it. What does she mean by the uncoerced disappearance of such speech? Where could anyone but someone from Harvard come up with a phrase like that? What in the hell does uncoerced disappearance mean?
I don't know what that means.
Well, okay, good. So let's say we disagree politically. Wouldn't you expect somebody in the Senate to say, Ms. Kagan, When you wrote this article in 1993, what did you mean by the uncoerced disappearance of hate speech? Please explain what you mean by uncoerced disappearance. Wouldn't that at least be a reasonable question to ask her?
I suppose it would, but I would preface it by saying, what do you mean by hate speech? Are you referring to pornography? That's all
right. That's another good question. Where do you stand on pornography? That's a very good one for people in Hollywood, because if she ever wanted to see the uncoerced disappearance of pornography, virtually every Hollywood film would have to be purged. Thank you for the call. 1-800-449-8255, michaelsavage.com. So there it is. The Supreme Court. First, we had to suffer through Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the former chief counsel for the American Civil Liberties Union, which, as you well know, is a communist front group. The most destructive organization in the history of America has been the ACLU. It acts as though it's another avenue of government. Everything that the schmucks do, they ask what the ACLU thinks of it. You hear this? Whether a bullet can be fired in Afghanistan, it has to go through some pockmarked lunatic in New York City's Lower East Side to see what he thinks about it first. So we had that to deal with. Now we have to deal with the Supreme Court under Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Can you imagine those two, what they're going to do to Alito and Roberts and Thomas on the Supreme Court? Can you imagine the terror they're going to use on those men once they put the two of them in black robes? Can you imagine what will go on in that Supreme Court? It's amazing. We can never survive this. Never. Look, forget that she's a radical feminist. Forget her sexual orientation, which is all over the blogosphere of what it really is. I don't really give a damn. I don't care if she's a lesbian. It doesn't matter to me. I'll tell you that right now. And I want to go on record, and I want you to write it down. I don't care if someone is gay or a lesbian. I never did. I have said this over and over and over again. But people keep taking me out of context. There is a subgroup within the gay and lesbian community that uses gay and lesbianism to promote a radical leftist agenda. They use it to beat people up and threaten them. It has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It's a ploy to control people by saying you're anti-gay, you're anti-lesbian. That's what I've always objected to. You know, this Friday, Playboy comes out with the big June issue in 3D, and it's, strangely enough, it's the issue that has the 8,000-word interview about me, Michael Savage. No doubt it's going to be the biggest selling issue they've ever had because of me in 3D. My words will be in 5D, but I will only be in 3D. The girls will be in 4D, and you'll probably be in 2D. But the fact of the matter is, in this article, I don't know what the guy wrote. I know that it was an open-ended interview, and it went on for 8 hours. 3.5 hours on a Friday night. 3.5 hours the next day with a tape running the next day. I don't even know what I said. But I do know this. He kept bringing up issues about sexuality over and over again. He said, look, you do know that we're a magazine about sex. I said, I know. So he kept asking me, where do you stand on gays? Where do you stand on this? Where do you stand on... I said, do you want to hear the whole story, or do you want to hear the snapshot over and over again? Now, whether he'll run the entire statement again, I don't know. Maybe this will finally put to rest the lie about Michael Savage. I am a sexual libertarian. I understand people's sexuality is their own damn business. I do not want the government regulating anybody's sexuality except when it comes to the exploitation of children. I want to be very clear about that. But I also want to say that just as people who happen to be African American have been used by the radical left to promote the radical left agenda, and that any African American who is not of the radical left persuasion is never heard from. Never. The same is true with regard to gays and lesbians. If a gay or a lesbian is political and they're not to the left, far to the left of center, they're never heard from. They're disappeared. They're ostracized. I'll be right back. Savage interview in 3D Playboy. Now, you see, this is the old Chinese adage of what is good luck and what is bad luck. So it's probably going to be the biggest issue they've had in years. It's a dying magazine. It used to be something. When I was in my teens, all I read was Road and Track and Playboy. I lived on Playboy and Road and Track. One I read in the bathroom, one I read in the bedroom. I'm not going to tell you which. But the fact of the matter is, they were the Bibles of the youth of my day. For those of us who didn't go to Harvard or Yale and learn how to be good communists, you know. So now the interview's coming out. I'm featured in the profile. So it's a 3D issue, as I say. So it's going to sell like crazy for all of the deviants out there who want to put glasses on and think, oh, look, I could see her breasts now in 3D glasses. Oh, what kind of... You're going to get a thrill out of that? Wearing a pair of plastic glasses on your schnoz? Looking at fake boobs in a fake magazine about fake woman? All right, good luck to you, but it'll sell like crazy as a novelty. Fine. It's a good trick. I mean, we had the 3D glasses in 1953, and they died after 3 years. So, everything comes around, right? And the Bible in 3D would be a real kick. I mean, there's Abraham putting Isaac on the stone in 3D. I can't wait to see that one. Savage. So, in other words, it's going to be a big seller. They'll sell out like crazy. Now, that's the issue in which the interview with Michael Savage is the centerpiece next to the centerfold. So if the interview is positive, then it will be good luck. On the other hand, if the writer chose to edit my comments in such a way as to make me look bad, then it will be bad luck. So it's the old Chinese adage of what is good luck and what is bad luck. Have you ever heard that story? It's a fabulous one. I probably mangle it. My mind is a little foggy. This is allergy season. You'll have to forgive me. I'm tired. You'll have to forgive me. I just finished a 110,000-word manuscript in about 10 to 12 weeks.